All right, welcome to the channel. Thank you for watching this video. I'm going to be breaking down, in my opinion, collapsible bags that I've reviewed and searched and researched for traveling. I spent 6 months traveling last year out of the 12 months. What I really find and found very gratefully was that I do not like traveling with baggage. I do not like to check baggage. I've lost luggage. And to me, if I can get away with just traveling with carry-on, that's huge. I spent probably about 5 or 6 hours digging through blogs, and what I stumbled upon were 2 bags. The Nomadic and the Matador. They're basically both backpacks that you can break down and shrink down into your suitcase. So when you get to your destination, you can open them up and you can use them as daily bags. What do I need to know about these bags? Well, there was 3 main criteria I looked for when I was deciding on these bags. 1, can I fit my backpack, my whole sort of nomadic setup that I have? And if you haven't seen the digital nomad like work setup that I have, I highly recommend you check out that video if you're interested. It has my entire breakdown of the things that I use when I travel. So the second thing that's really important with these bags is they've got to be able to collapse down small. If they're taking up a huge amount of space just to throw in my carry-on, then it's a no bueno, it's a deal killer. The third is gonna be the comfort, how they wear on me. So I'll try them on, I'll show you how they look. And then the final criteria for me is build quality and style. So for the Nomadic bag, it has a zip kind of protocol to it, and you unzip this thing, and then it opens up like this, and you've got quite a bit of compartment in here. So this one actually has a bit more of a size to it. So you've got this one, and this one, you know, you've got a bit of probably another, I don't know, couple inches of length on the bottom. It's got a more substantial back area. There's some actual cushioning there where the other one doesn't have that. The straps have some breathability at the top. Let's start with the Nomadic. It's the bigger of the 2, and let's just see how it fits, how it looks, how it feels, and then we'll go to the Matador. Okay, so I've got my main compartment open. Let's add the first item, MacBook Pro 16-inch, and we have plenty of room. I'm gonna go ahead and add my external monitor, which is very thin. It's about the same dimensions as the MacBook Pro, and we're gonna put that in. That easily fits in there. Adapters, my wires, my dongles, my USB charger for my Mac, my keyboard, that slips right in. I'm gonna grab the 2 roof stands I have, and I'm gonna put those in. And the last thing I have is my mouse, and that easily fits in here. So plenty of room, still, you know, an upper compartment here we can stick some things in. MacBook 16-inch with several other items in here. There's adjustments on the strap, you can kind of see. There's a little adjustable thing here that can clip. I don't really ever use those. Back cushion, so you can kind of see it sits right kind of below. I have a pretty normal size frame for upper body, so it kind of sits right at the waist. Yeah, the cushions feel good on my tail. Here's how it looks on the mirror, on the side. One last thing I forgot on the Nomadic bag here is there's a bottle compartment. So this does have a little bit of, you know, this is kind of the limit of the size I would probably try to fit in here. This is a big 33.8 liter, 1 liter water bottle, but it fits in there and it fits pretty well. Usage and size, it's pretty sweet. It has a good amount of size and works pretty well. So we got the Matador here, and I'm gonna go ahead and open the bag, and we're gonna see if we can even fit this MacBook 16. This bad boy is quite a bit more compact. 16-inch MacBook Pro, and see if it'll fit. Right like that, folks. It's in. It's about at its limit in terms of how much size you're gonna get. It's going a little bit beyond the edges, but it doesn't look like you're losing a lot of dead space down here, like maybe an inch. Here's the external monitor. Here is the cables. The 2 roost stands. We're starting to get a little tight, but we're still all right. And I've got my mouse here that we're putting in as well. That's looking good. So now the bottom is a little bit more spread, but it's not, you know, it's not the end of the world. Matador bag, just like this, the Refraction collapsible backpack. I'm go ahead and throw it on my bag. It sits a little higher on the back. These straps are adjustable, so we're okay on the adjustments here. Okay. So you've got room here to open these up quite a bit. So you can kind of see here, it does definitely not have the padding. So you're gonna feel the edge of your, whatever you have here on your back. So let's talk about the actual capacity here, right? So we've got an upper section here. It's pretty tapped out on space. I wanna almost say it's bigger than the Nomadic in the sense that the Nomadic has this compartment here on the top that you zip open, but it's only, you know, 5-6 inches deep. This one goes more like 7 or 8, 9. You know, it gets a little, you got a little bit more size here on the front of the bag. So from that perspective, I do like that compartment. As far as fitting a water bottle on this thing, 1 liter water bottle test is pretty impressive. Like, it fits. It does fit everything, so it passes our criteria. I think the style looks good, and it's definitely more compact. Let's go ahead and collapse the Nomadic and go ahead and pack this bad boy back down. It's really pretty straightforward. You just take all the straps and you pack them down into the middle and you taco this thing. And then there's a zipper on the outside of the pads. You just zip it up. And once you zip this thing, it's a really cool concept, actually, what they did. I give this like a 7 out of 10 for collapsibility. I've seen better. Old, beat up one that I had is, you get this is the size versus this, right? There's a significant difference. You can probably say they're about half with just the versatility of this not having to be a certain shape. And frankly, that's a huge point for the Matador Refraction because it doesn't have a confined pack space. It really does pack as a roll up option. So you can get this thing sit extremely compact. Not as compact as my old janky cheapo one, but you're still looking at about half the space and you're not really giving up half the storage. So from my perspective, this one clearly has an advantage on collapsibility, and that's a big factor for someone who might be looking for that variable. Let's talk about the style and the build quality. If I had to pick between the two, looking at these, feeling these out, it does seem like there's a little more money in this product, in the Nomadic, just because of the sheer larger amount of material with the padding. There's definitely a feel of a bit more that went into that. This doesn't feel like that cheap bag that I showed you, my old one that I bought on the hiking trail in Tucson. This feels like it actually was created with intention, and there's some real stitching in here. The zippers seem like they're pretty high quality. The Matador has a beat. There's actually no stitching in here. It looks really like they did inseam stitching, so that's a big quality factor there. They actually took the time to make all the seams inside of it, which means this thing will last longer. You've got stitches on the bottom here that are gonna expose. They're gonna rip, they're gonna catch, they're gonna start to fray, they're gonna start to fall apart. From a material perspective, I actually like the soft touch feel of this material a little bit better. The Nomadic feels more like a rubber, like a dry bag that you'd take in a kayak. It's really just this kind of rain plastic, nylon, waterproof material that feels kind of rubbery, plasticky, like a poncho. One of those water things if you wanted to actually have a water thing on the Nomadic. So that's something else to consider. So in conclusion, we had roughly 4 criteria for analyzing these bags. Number 1 criteria was, does it fit a MacBook Pro and other accessories? And the answer to that question is both meet the criteria. The Nomadic has a little bit more capacity, a decent amount more capacity, probably 25% more capacity, so you could put even more stuff in there. Number 2 was the collapsibility, right? The collapsibility strongly goes in the favor of the Matador. It's just a much more collapsible bag. It's at like 40% the size of the Matador, and it's more versatile. You can literally just lay it on top of your bag and you literally would be able to sandwich it right into your carry-on, and it almost takes up no space. The Nomadic's gonna pack in that kind of cushion, and you're gonna have to fit that in somewhere, and so that makes it a bit more of a size issue if that's really what you're going for. In terms of style, you've got to give the Matador a slight edge because the material just feels more soft touch and looks more like a material you would wear. In my opinion, that's more what's trending now. It's a little bit more stylish, where this just looks like a freaking poncho dry bag. It's a dry bag. It's really what it looks like. In terms of style, definitely the Matador. And then in terms of the actual build quality, you've got to give it to the Nomadic. The stitching is all inside. There's no exposed out stitches. That makes a difference. That's gonna make the longevity of this bag. So from that perspective, that is the overall consensus. It's not one versus the other and one is superior. It's really one has this pro and one has this pro. So if you are if hiking is not really the main emphasis there and you don't have any sort of back pain or back issues and you want maybe a little bit of a smaller bag that's really collapsible, I would go with the Matador. If you want the Nomadic, you're probably looking for something a little bit bigger and you want that versatility of being able to use it as sort of like a medium to short hike type situation where you're gonna be more in that outdoorsy scenario. It also seems like it's a little more waterproofed than the Matador. So from that perspective, the Nomadic would make more sense, especially if you care less about the collapsibility. You're looking for that. Hope that made sense. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. If you like this content, got a few other kind of things out here on the channel related to this. The digital Nomad one setup is probably a really good one to go to next if you haven't seen that. It resonates with you and you enjoyed this content, you'll probably find some of my other content pretty engaging, and I encourage you to subscribe and drop a comment. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.